Maybe you woke up this morning and the weight of it was already there, before you even opened your eyes. That feeling, like the walls are closing in, like every door you try is locked, like no matter which way you turn, there is simply no way forward. It is one of the most exhausting places a person can be. Not a dramatic breaking point necessarily. Sometimes it is quieter than that. A situation that will not change. A relationship that feels impossible. A body that will not heal. A mind that will not rest. A life that has somehow narrowed down to a corridor with no exit. If that is where you are right now, I want you to know that you are not alone in feeling that way. And I want to sit with you here for just a few minutes. Because there is a passage in the book of Psalms, Old Words, written by someone who knew what it felt like to be hemmed in on every side, and I believe those words have something tender to say to you today. So take a slow breath if you can. And listen to these words from Psalms, chapter 142. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord did I make my supplication. I poured out my complaint before him, I showed before him my trouble. When my spirit was overwhelmed within me, then thou knewest my path. For in the way wherein I walked have they privily laid a snare for me. I looked on my right hand, and beheld, but there was no man that would know me. Refuge failed me, no man cared for my soul. I cried unto thee, O Lord. I said, Thou art my refuge and my portion in the land of the living. Did you hear that? The person who wrote those words was not writing from a place of victory. They were not looking back on a trial that had already passed. They were in the middle of it. The snare was still there. The refuge had still failed them. They looked to their right and found no one who truly knew them, no one who seemed to care. And yet, and this is the quiet miracle hidden inside those verses, they cried out anyway. That is the whole scripture, really, not a resolution. Not a promise that everything would immediately change. Just a soul in a tight place, turning toward God and saying, I am talking to you. I am pouring this out before you. You know my path, even when I cannot see it. There is something so deeply human about that. Maybe you have been in a situation where you looked around for help and felt utterly unseen. Perhaps you are carrying something right now that you have not been able to say out loud to anyone, a fear, a grief, a circumstance that feels like a snare you cannot escape. The ancient writer of this psalm knew that feeling. And what they did with it was not to pretend it was not real, not to paste a smile over it. They brought it, all of it, raw and honest, before God. They said, Here is my complaint. Here is my trouble. I am pouring it out. There is a kind of freedom in that. You do not have to clean yourself up before you bring this to God. You do not have to have the right words or the right posture or a certain level of faith before you are allowed to speak. The psalm says, I cried with my voice, which means it was not silent and tidy and composed. It was a cry, and God heard it. The line that steadies me most is this one. When my spirit was overwhelmed within me, then thou knewest my path. Not thou wilt know. Not thou might know if I explain it correctly. Thou knewest. Past tense. Already. Before the prayer was even finished, the knowing was already there. God is not scrambling to understand your situation. He already knows the path you are on, even the part that is obscured from you, even the stretch ahead that you cannot see, even the snare that was laid without your knowledge. That does not make the snare disappear, but it means you are not navigating this alone. It means the one who holds all things is already acquainted with every detail of your life, including the parts that feel most tangled and most trapped. And when the psalmist finally names what God is to them in the midst of all of it, they choose this word, refuge, not a solution, not an escape hatch, a refuge, a place of shelter inside the storm, a presence that does not require the storm to stop before it will be with you. That is what is being offered to you right now, quietly in the middle of wherever you are. Not necessarily a way out immediately, but a refuge, a being known, a presence that is already ahead of you on the path, even when you cannot feel it. So if you have been crying on the inside, it is okay to let that cry become a real prayer today. You do not need a formula. You only need to say, here I am. Here is all of it. I am bringing it to you. That is enough. That has always been enough. Wherever you are right now, I hope you feel just a little less alone than you did a few minutes ago. These words from Psalms 142 have carried countless people through corridors that felt impossible, and they are here for you today, too. If this brought you any measure of peace, would you stay close? Subscribe so that every day you have a quiet place to return to, a place where Scripture meets you gently, wherever you are. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who also feels trapped right now, consider passing this along to them. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is simply say, "Here, listen to this." You are not forgotten. You are not unseen. And you are welcome back here anytime.